Uh, Hello everyone, I'm Luka Kramaric. I won the Battle Hardened Bologna tournament, and this is my first video, uh, actually second after the funny moments in Belgium, and this will be my Bravo Showstopper deck profile. So I'll just explain what I played and why I played some certain choices. So I think it's best to start with the equipment. We have 7 equipment pieces and a weapon. We of course play Anatos, strongest hammer, and our usual setup is Crown of Providence for a headpiece, Crater Fist on arms, Tectonic Plating on the chest, and Iron Earth legs because Guardian has a poor choice of leg equipment. Mage Master boots are too slow with Tome of Yandel, and since I'm not playing E-Strikes, there is nothing to proc the Snapdragon Scalers. And we have 3 Null equipment for mostly for Kano matchup, since versus Icelander I only play Arcane Bearer 1, which is on boots. So how I approach every game, I have a main board of 52 cards, as you can see, and then I add 8 cards, sometimes more, before every matchup. So what are these 52 cards? I have 12 red cards that are in every single matchup. That is Command and Conquer, the strongest generic card in the game, and the biggest crushes. So Crippling Crush, which discards 2 random cards, and Spinal Crush, which says no go again on anything. And the last red card, or last 2 red cards, are Red Pummels. They are pretty much self-explanatory. Every single card in the deck can be pummeled, and on hit is usually devastating. And I play 40 blues in almost all matchups. We'll come back to that later. So for blues, there are 2 pummel here. They don't pitch for Anatos. They block only 2. But versus aggro matchups, the on hit of them discarding a card is very important. And Command and Conquer plus a blue pummel is almost as good as a Command and Conquer and red pummel. Then we have 1 buckle. So I play every single 6 or more blue card that I can play. And I need a few more, so I added 1 buckle. Never played it, but it has some niche use in late game. It is 7 dominate on Anatos, so it can push damage, and sometimes it can destroy Grasp or Tectonic Plating in the mirror, but I never used it in all 11 rounds. Buckling Blow, self-explanatory, 6 blue card, block 3, 6th attack. That 6th attack is important for Rouse the Ancients, Zealous Belting, and it's a popper for Draw My matchup. Then Chokeslam, same stuff, 6 power, and on hit and Chokeslam is actually relevant. That's the only card we play in red out of all these blue cards. And it's important versus aggro, so against Briar, Fi, but if in mirrors, it's also a must block, although in mirror, Guardians will usually block most attacks. Cranial Crush, 8 power, blue, so with a relevant on hit, it can stop mask draws and E-strike draws from Fi, Katsu, Briar. Also versus Azalea, I played round 6, yes, versus Azalea, so Cranial Crush stops that dealer draw. Then we have this Odd Crush the Weak. It's only 5 power, so it doesn't proc Phantasm, it doesn't enable Zealous Belting, but it is a blue card that our Fi opponent has to block. Problem is that they can block it only with Furnace or Shuko, or even give us a card. In that place, it was blue unmovable at first, but against aggro, I would not like to have blue unmovable. Although I do play 1 here, but I sided out against Fi and ninjas in general. So to go on, debilitate, also 6 power, blue cost 3, disable, same thing, but it attacks for 7, and 6 plus 7 is 13, which enables Rouse the Ancients. Here we have Grandeur of Valahai, and I play it because I was lucky enough to open it in a booster. The card is pretty volatile because the Seismic Surge as a token is volatile, because it can enable you to play Crippling Crush with only 2 cards, which is insane, and also it can help you dominate Spinal Crush with only 2 cards. And when you pitch Grandeur, most often to swing Hammer for 4, because it's a no block, it doesn't have a cost to play, so it cannot turn on Anatos. So you don't know exactly what you will draw unless you have something in arsenal, but that Seismic Surge is pretty volatile. Rest of the blues, Imposing Visage, so we ran out of useful attack actions which have 6 or more attack. So Imposing Visage is good on turn 0 because it can fetch Showtime, which is another aura we play. And sometimes in mid game, when we have full tempo against Guardian, if we happen to draw all blue hand, we can play Imposing Visage then, because it has to go again. So it can fetch Showtime and then we can swing Hammer for 6. And with 4 blues, there isn't much more you can do. Even Guardian mirrors. Next we have Lunging Press. So Lunging Press was the 2 AM edition, and it directly replaced 1 blue pummel. So you can see that I played only 2 blue pummels, and I replaced 1 Lunging Press because they both don't pitch for Anatos, they both block 2. So the only difference is the effect. And I was thinking, since I don't run Tunic, I can play Command and Conquer with Pummel only on 4 card hands, because I need 4 in pitch and 2 to play. And with 3 cards, I can pitch a blue card, make a Seismic Surge token, play Command and Conquer, and then after they block 6, I can play Lunging Press to deal 1 damage and destroy Arsenal, but that never came up. I only played Lunging Press once versus Icelander, where I broke the Frostbite to deal 1 damage and save 3 life from Frost Hex, although I could have obviously pitched the blue Lunging Press to prevent those 3 damage. But this way I gained 1 damage, so it proved to be more useful than blue Pummel in this tournament. Macho Grande, I would say the strongest blue card, because you always pitch it. It's an 8 power attack, so it's great for Rouse the Ancients, and it has Dominate, which is pretty good in late game, because in late game it is easy to have a Seismic Surge, because you will be swinging Hammer for 6 a lot of the time, and with Seismic Surge, Macho Grande is playable of another 2 blues, and 8 Dominate in late game, where there are no equipment left, is almost guaranteed damage. Rouse the Ancients, another blue that blocks only for 2, but Rouse the Ancients, I would say, pushes Guardian in a way Guardians aren't supposed to be pushed, because with 3 cards, 4 cards, but you will always arsenal the last card. You can play Rouse the Ancients for 7, reveal 2 cards, pitch one of those 2 to swing Hammer for 6, and place the last card, hopefully a red card, in arsenal. So that's 3 cards for 13 damage. That's the optimal 5 damage on 3 cards, so we can do it in Guardian. Issue is that it only blocks 2, but it costs 3, so it pitches for Anatos. One of the best cards in Mirror as well. Showtime, self-explanatory, only played turn 0, or sometimes with Imposing Visage, as I said, in the mid game when we have full tempo and a handful of blues. Showtime usually grabs Crippling Crush, but in some matchups, depending on the amount of blues in our hand, we can also add a Pulverize, which we play in a sideboard to dominate it next turn for 14 damage. And I was maybe lying about Macho Grande being the strongest blue card. Terra Sunder is definitely the strongest blue card. 7 Dominate and discard 2 on hit with Thanatos is pretty strong. And because it's a blue, it stays in the deck till late game. And in late game, when our opponents run out of D reacts, Terra Thunder is pretty strong. And last 4 blues, we have 3 Thunderquakes. Heave 3 doesn't usually come up. It can come up turn 0 when you already have Crippling Crush in hand. So you Heave Thunderquake to create 3 more Seismic Surges. So you presumably have 4 because you pitched for Tectonic Plating. And with 4 Seismic Surges, we can play Crippling Crush off of 1 blue in our hand. The issue is we are stuck with Thunderquake in Arsenal, but we play Crown of Providence as a get out of jail free card for our blues in Arsenal. And the last blue is blue unmovable. This card could have been another Crush the Week, but it's only 1 card in a 60 card deck, so it over the tournament in 11 rounds it never came up. So this deck is pretty usual for Bravo mainboard. 12 reds that are in almost every matchups, and 40 blues is the norm. I've seen people going around from 39 to 42, some even pushing 45 for Icelander matchup. But since I play only Arcane Barrier 1 versus Icelander, I'm fine with only 40 blues. Sideboard, this is where most Bravo lists differ. It's not organized really well, but we can see that we have 3 Chokeslam red, and this card is in almost every matchup. It was like this before tournament, but I think Chokeslam is a main board worthy card. It's useful in mirrors because it on hit it stops pummels, but also costing 4, it is pummelable with only 4 cards. So 2 blues pay for Chokeslam plus pummel, and Chokeslam with its cost of 4 is insane in aggro with Seismic Surge token. So if you make a Seismic 1 turn with let's say Spinal Crush, 2 blues, make a Seismic attack with Spinal Crush. Next turn we can use that Seismic Surge to play Chokeslam off of only 1 blue. And that's also where Grandeur of Valahai comes in handy, because it creates that Seismic Surge on pitch. Next card for aggro is Crush the Week, and I was not... this was also an addition day before the tournament, because I was playtesting against Fi, and I felt that... So these Crush the Weeks used to be another Fate Foreseen, and I think another unmovable. But against Fi, it's more important to present on hits that are relevant rather than playing more D reacts. So I put these Crush the Weeks in because I feel the Fi matchup is... Fi and Briar are the worst matchups for Bravo in my opinion, which is kind of ironic because Bravo is supposed to be good versus aggro, but Channel Mount turns with Force of Nature and Art of War turns in Fi are pretty strong. So that's why I put Crush the Weeks in, and they also come in some matchups where we need more 3 blocks. So against the Guardian and even against Lexi, I played it. So 4 defense reactions, 3 Sink Below because it lets us filter the hand, and 1 Fate Foreseen. I found that 4 D reacts is enough to keep us in the game against Runeblades. Because against Briar, when they come for 4 or 7, you don't want to give them the embodiment to get the free block on your Chokeslam or Spinal Crush, Crippling Crush, etc. So above that, against Fi, it's not even that good. It stops Mountain Anger, and anything else is vanilla damage. So it's nice to have a D-React for Blaze Headlong, but you don't want to have 2 in any hand. Oasis Respite is in versus Icelander and Kano. I was scared of Kano, and one Oasis in Arsenal with 3 Arcane Barrier should stop almost every Kano combo and give you enough time to hammer them and aggro them with Zealous Belting and browse the Ancients. Only 1 Pulverize. because going turn 0 against Guardian, you want to go first. You have 6 ways to get to that polarize, and the polarize is 7th. And I figured that in Guardian Mirrors there isn't enough time to play 2 polarizes during the game, because you don't want to take damage to play polarize most of the time. Of course, if you can dominate it, it's good, but I figured 1 is enough to win Mirrors, and against everything else, you never want to see it after turn 0. Next are 3 Sigil of Solace. That's also in versus Icelander. 3 life is better than a 3 block, and it can play with Icelander's mind if you have Sigil in Arsenal or not. And through playing versus Icelander, I found out that 1 Arcane Barrier is enough in combination with Aces Respite, 3 Sigils, and 3 Zealous Belting to aggro them down. And what's next? We have 1 Smashing Good Time. Although the dash matchup is supposed to be rough, because if dash plays 3 Unmovable, 3 Sync, and even some Reinforce the Line, you should be able to pressure them enough so they can't set up too many items. But I figured with only 1 sideboard slot, especially only for dash, that is Smashing Good Time, if it's drawn early enough, it can completely swing the matchup. Because if you destroy their only chamber before they get to the second one, they can't really pressure unless they boost, and most often they will not boost until they see all of their D-reacts and at least some items. And if you destroy their induction chamber, they can't boost, because if they boost at the second induction chamber, they will lose. 1 Unmovable. So in Mirrors, any D-react is enough. So Sink Below in Arsenal plus a card from hand blocks almost everything. Crippling goes for 11, but then you just throw another piece of equipment and you're safe. And it's not really, in Oldhim, it's not that great. It's good, but it's not that great, because you don't want to have it stuck in Arsenal only for them to swing Hammer or command Pummel. So usually you just, I do play it against Oldhim, but only 1, and it's enough. When you see it, you play it, preserve some life, preserve a card because you pitched it instead of blocking. And 1 Unmovable is enough to win rogue matchups like Dorinta. When you draw that Unmovable, slap it in Arsenal, you can have them some counters, but the next turn you flip Unmovable and they lose all of their counters. And the last card is a Zealous Belting. So after playing Guardian for some time, Zealous Belting is breath of fresh air. 2 for 5 go again, and you're always happy to see it in matchups where you play it. So Dash, Icelander, and Dromai, but it's just a Surging Strike with the condition of go again, so you have to pitch 6 or more. Yeah, the card, I don't play it in Mirror because it's a red 2 block, and you have to have 3 cards. You can select in Arsenal, but you want D-reacts in Mirrors. And versus Oldhim with Ice React, I found Zealous Belting to be more cloggy than useful. So that's why I don't play it. I don't want this video to be too long, so this is just to show what I played and some short insights in why I played some stuff. I will maybe make another video to go more in detail why I played some cards and why I didn't play some cards. There were talks about Outmuscle being good. I tried Debilitate. Blue Fiendless Fighting Spirit might be decent. There are a lot of stuff competing for this sideboard slot, for these 20 sideboard slots. There are plenty of cards to be played, and these are my 20. With playing only 1 Arcane Barrier versus Icelander, there is also a case of removing Null Rune Hood and Null Rune Gloves. if you don't expect to see Kanos. But I didn't want to travel for 8 hours to lose the Kano in early rounds and have no way of topping. Uh, Although in Battle Hardened I lost first round to Viserai and then went to win 10 in a row. So Flesh and Blood Italia, they streamed the whole event, and I was on features in top 8, top 4, and finals. So I'll put the link to that stream in the description. So if you want to see Bravo in action, you can see the matchups against Icelander to see how one Arcane Barrier works. Lexi, which is my most hated matchup because I don't know what to expect from that hero. And the finals in a Guardian Mirror against Oldhim. And they were all pretty close matches, except maybe the Icelander one. So you can see what my plans during those matches. And that's it for this deck tech. I will put the link to the list in the description as well, although you can find it on February under the tournament section. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you on the channel again.